Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. The United States was at peace with that nation, and at the solicitation of Japan, was still in conversation with its government and its emperor, looking toward the maintenance of peace in the Pacific. The American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory.
What's up, everybody? Carmine here. Tonight we're going to be talking about a project that I just finished up. It's actually a special project for a friend of mine. And the reason I wanted to highlight this is because this isn't like my normal run-of-the-mill project that you guys are probably used to seeing in the way of like the Disney trains and stuff. It's not fantasy. It's actually based on a prototype that was. Now, I use the term prototype lightly because this locomotive is still around. If you guys don't know, it's the GS4, the 4449. But the paint scheme we did it in was kind of like, how do I even explain it? It was like a leftover from an excursion scheme that BNSF ran, and like, I guess they didn't want to paint it back into the GS4 daylight colors, so they're just like, screw it, we're going to do this. But I'm going to give you a little bit of background on what the scheme is, but first I want to tell you about how this came to be. So this is for my buddy Johnny. You may know him as Audamus Trains.
Saddle tank and shit.
He's actually has a YouTube channel, and he does a lot of different great video reviews and stuff like that. I actually met him through one of our Discord groups. I know him, Sid from Sid's Trains, JD Stucks, RBP Chris, and a bunch of other guys, and we've actually became really good friends. Johnny kind of learned that I did custom models and stuff, and he kind of tossed around the idea about doing this, but he wanted it done a very specific way. If I'm sweating, I'm so sorry. It's South Florida. It's like 87 degrees at 8 o'clock at night with like 40% humidity. So it's like Guam in my garage, basically. So back to the story. So he wanted this GS4, but I guess from what I understand, the owner of the 4449, Doyle McCormick, after they did an excursion run for the Burlington Northern and Santa Fe Railway, they had to paint the entire locomotive like high gloss black. And it had white stripes down the side, and it had the BNSF cross on the center of the tender. So after that happened, from what Johnny's telling me, they left the locomotive all black, they re-lettered it for Southern Pacific lines, and they made it a war baby. Now, if you guys don't know what a war baby is, basically during the 40s, after we entered World War II from the attack on Pearl Harbor, they started to kind of paint everything black, keep it all, just bare bones, bare needed stuff. Like no crazy eccentricities, no extreme colors most of the time, just wartime black. It's a locomotive, it's meant to do a job, and that's it. That's what you got. So now, this is what Johnny wanted. The biggest thing is that a lot of different companies have made war babies, but from the way prototype locomotives come out in real life, they're always gloss, because from what I was understanding, gloss paint is cheaper than like a flat paint, excuse me. So Lionel, MTH, they all did, like I said, black war babies, but they never did them in like a high gloss, and that was like the biggest thing. Now, there were a couple of other little things Johnny did want on here that I did add, and I have to say a couple of the ways I came up with doing them was pretty impressive, but I decided to paint this thing gloss black, and the funny thing about this is the locomotive. It is a roller. There's no motor or electronics in it because he's actually sending that to someone else. This thing is a fingerprint magnet. I literally have to keep a chamois around to get fingerprints off of this thing. Now, what is this painted with? It's not a standard gloss black paint that you can buy in like Home Depot or something. No. This is like $400 a gallon aircraft spinner paint. guys don't know what that is, if you ever looked inside of a jet turbine engine, the round cone in the center with the white swirlies on it, that is the aircraft spinner. This is the paint that covers that spinner. So it is a very high gloss, and it is a baked on enamel based paint. So this is essentially like a powder coating, and the thing is ridiculously shiny. Now, I did do certain things. I actually will put pictures in there. I actually highly detailed the cab for him, and there's actually kind of a funny story about the cab detail and stuff like that. And I'll go into a little bit more. But now I'm going to give you guys a close-up view of the engine, and I'll go over some of the details and stuff, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, everybody, so coming around to the front of the locomotive. So one of the big discerning features on this was during the war, railroads in most cases had headlight lens shields, or I guess you want to call them like an air raid shield around the headlight. So what that did is that prevented any aircraft flying over the locomotives and the trains to see them from higher altitudes to be able to target them. So to my knowledge, 90% of railroads during the war did do this. I've seen them on everything from streamlined E-units up until steam locomotives, and that was one of the big features. And if you actually look up pictures of this locomotive in this scheme, when they did this run, it had a headlight lens shield. So now, how am I going to replicate that? Well, I tossed around some ideas, maybe 3D printing the thing and a couple of other things, and it didn't work out right. Until one night, I'm in the garage and I'm working, and I'm drinking out of my Burger King cup. And I go, holy crap, there's my headlight lens shield. That is a straw from a Burger King cup. Obviously, it's painted flat black to match it, but I have it set up to where you can actually pop the headlight lenses out and remove it if you would like to. So that's actually one of my favorite parts. And the other thing I like about this is that it is flexible. So if he does bump it or bend it or something like that, you can actually just snap it back into place. And it does wrap around the entire headlight, both sides, all that stuff. It came out pretty good, and I got the design very, very close. Johnny wanted all the handrails and stuff painted black. He wanted the front of the deck here painted. The other thing he wanted is, on most War Babies, the front pilot was just straight up silver like the boiler front. He wanted the GS4 stainless steel plates, so I actually took these from a Lionel one and modified them to fit this pilot, and they actually came out really well. The radiator screens in the front, because this was a Protosound 1 GS, it is a little bit older, so the detail was a little bit more dumbed down on it, so I did dress things up. So I painted the screens here, and then you start the run of this high gloss black. And if you can see the reflection of my computer and the little magic wand in the paint, because it is that shiny. But I'll be honest with you, right now, it's dirty. It's got fingerprints on it. I honestly cannot wait to get rid of this thing so I don't keep touching it. So going along to the side of the locomotive, we were talking about making the boiler here. When they come from MTH, they're like a gray. Well, I decided to go with a flat black because that best matched the prototype. I put the original builder's plates and information data cards back. I painted the patches for where the number boards would have been up here a flat black to help offset the gloss, so it gives it a little bit of depth and stuff like that. The wheels and the tire rims are all painted black to match the look of the locomotive. And the other big thing is when we had the decals done, the decals were done by a buddy named Greg Catanese. I hope I'm pronouncing Greg's last name right, but he's the guy that helped us out with the decals, and he did a phenomenal job. I will have Greg help me out with some other decal things because I will paint stuff all day. I am incredibly lazy when it comes to decals. I don't like computers enough to even deal with it half the time. So Greg is my decal guy, and he does a great job, and I love it, and they look great, and they went on beautifully. So continuing along the running gear, like I said, everything's painted, and we even have these stars on the center of the axles to match the prototype. Going down to the cab. Now, the cab, if you don't pay that much attention, these are newer crew figures from the Protosound 2 and Protosound 3 era GSs. I wanted to change them because I hated those stupid zombie-looking cute crew figures. They have no life to them, and they were just absolutely boring. You guys can't see it here, but I will put a picture in the video here. I'll actually cut it in of the back head that I detailed up. So I painted all the valves, all the gauges, everything. Now, the running joke from what me and Johnny were discussing is that whenever Doyle McCormick, who is the gentleman that owns the 4449, he's always got a Sprite with him. Well, we were joking around one night and we're like, how funny would it be if you could make a Sprite can? Well, I made a Sprite can. Here's the picture of it. Yes, it is that small. It is stupid tiny. You will probably never even notice it. There is going to be a cab light in this thing when he gets the sound and electronics installed, so maybe you will see it. But if not, I know it's there. I have photographic evidence through my pictures that it's there, and it was a great time. On to the tender. Not a lot to say. It's a black tender, but with it being black, that alone makes it very hard to lay up a high gloss paint without getting orange peel and different looks like that, and that beautiful Southern Pacific Lines logo that Greg did from the decals. It looked beautiful. All the handrail stanchions are the same gloss black. Some of the accessories and stuff along the top of the deck, I did leave a satin black or a flat black, whatever color you want to call it, to help give it some depth and not just make it one big glossy blob. And this is the back of the tender. We have the 4449 on the back, as well as the tender load information and Johnny's electrocoupler. And I did leave these ladders running up the side a satin black to, like I said before, offset the all gloss. Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed the quick overview of Johnny's custom GS4. It was a lot of fun to do this project. It came out beautiful. It almost makes me want a high gloss GS4, but I seriously doubt I will do one, but who knows. It was great to do something other than, dare I say, Disney. I know it might be kind of blasphemy for me, but it was a great time, and I'm glad this locomotive is going to someone that's going to truly enjoy it, because I did put my heart and soul into this thing, and it came out way above and beyond what I ever thought. But that's it, guys. Keep an eye out on Johnny's channel, like I said, which is Audamus Trains. When he gets this thing all finished, I'm pretty sure he's going to do a run video or something of it. But that's it, guys. Thanks for watching, and keep an eye out for the next video.